What's going on, YouTube? I'm the Flayer Slayer.
And I'm Dr. DM, and this is Dragon Week. Today on Dragon Week, we are bringing you regional effects for all the chromatic, that's right, evil dragons. So when you're in the 1 mile radius around their lair, you can know what kind of dragon it is you're about to face and how to get over all those effects so you can be the most effective dragon slayer.
Absolutely. Dragon Week is brought to you by Ginny D and Pointy Hat, bringing together a bunch of awesome content creators so that we can elevate the one true dragon.
Tiamat. So let's get right into it with the Black Dragon. These are dragons of decay and despair. The Black Dragons delight in suffering and ruin, while other chromatic dragons scheme for power and wealth. These dragons seek to tear down all they see and rule over what remains.
Black dragons lurk in dismal ruins, polluted bogs, or other sites gripped by decay.
All right, so we're going to look at the new regional effects that have come out in the Monsters Manual 2025. These are actually really cool, and they're going to let you know what's going on with that particular dragon when you're in 1 mile radius of them. So 2 things for every dragon, and it's adult dragons or higher. So if you're on the hunt for these, or you're ready to run away, you're going to know what to expect, what to encounter, and we'll talk a bit about how to overcome these obstacles. So let's start with
Acrid Haze, an odorous and stifling fog covers the area within 1 mile of the lair, rendering that area lightly obscured. Travel for creatures other than dragons and its allies will take twice the usual time in this type of area.
This is interesting. So keep in mind first, lightly obscured isn't too bad. It gives you disadvantage on perception checks, wisdom perception checks. So if you're looking for the dragon or trying to get around the area, that can be difficult. You're going to be coughing in that acrid haze. In addition, there are some good parts of this, though. Lightly obscured means you can stealth easier, or get around. So if you're trying to take the dragon by surprise, maybe you can use this effect for a boon for your own party.
And if you have a perhaps ranger in your party, maybe they are used to this type of terrain and area, and perhaps they can help you travel through it faster.
That's right, so good party composition is important. And now if you're trying to run away, though, this is essentially all difficult terrain, so it's going to be harder to get through it. Make sure you keep this in mind when you're doing a fight in and around a dragon lair.
Yeah,
you will be at half speed. What else we got here?
Foul water. Water sources within 1 mile of the lair are supernaturally fouled. A creature that drinks such water must succeed on a DC 15 Constitution saving throw or have the poison condition for 1 hour.
For 1 hour. That's pretty intense.
That's really intense.
If you are wandering around, the forest or a swamp, and you start to see that there's some acrid haze around, and the water looks a little bit odd, make sure you are paying attention to that, and maybe asking for some kind of insight or perception check, and don't drink that water, because 1 hour of disadvantage on everything, that's crazy.
That's gonna hurt.
Yeah, so keep these effects in mind for a black dragon. If you know what to see here, you will be the Bear Grylls of your party, and you're going to have a more successful dungeon dragon delving experience.
Absolutely. Up next, we have blue dragons, dragons of Tyranny and Tempest. Arrogant and imperious, blue dragons are chromatic dragons that crave control and collect followers like other dragons hoard treasure. They seek to transform their territories into empires, domains to be feared by nations.
And what is a blue dragon lair? Well, blue dragons dwell in arid lands usually. Their lairs might be death traps meant to entomb invaders, or ostentatious fortresses where they plot domination. That's a very blue dragon thing to do.
Yeah. So for the regional effects on a blue dragon's lair, you're going to be looking at lots of sinkholes. Sinkholes form more frequently in the area within 1 mile of the lair. Whenever a creature in that area other than a dragon and its allies finishes a long rest, they're going to have to roll a d20. On a 1, a sinkhole opens beneath the creature.
That's crazy.
And the creature must succeed on a DC 15 dexterity saving throw or fall 2d4 times 10 feet into the sinkhole.
That's awesome.
Love this.
It is, and it's a long rest. So if you are not paying attention, your DM doesn't signal there's a lot of sinkholes around, or it's not very clear what it is, and you're doing a long rest, and suddenly one of your fellow companions falls 80 feet under the ground in a sinkhole.
That's not going to be good.
No, that's great. Interestingly enough, though, this could you could be entering the dragon's lair under there or something, or a forgotten tomb or something. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of role play potential here,
Absolutely.
A lot of exploration, but also very dangerous.
I really like how this especially is almost taking a random encounter table, and it's adding this whole thing that can be leading up to a big boss fight in a really interesting way. So I think these are very, very powerful tools for DMs as well as fun for your players.
That's right. And as a player, now you'll know what to see and what to spot as you approach these dragons, or if you were planning on it or not. Next up, we have Spiteful Storms. Dust devils and thunderstorms rage within 1 mile of the lair. The area is, again, lightly obscured, like we saw with the black dragon. So this is really fun. I mean, even if it's just like an effect that doesn't particularly stop you from engaging with the dragon, just having that sense of foreboding, thunderstorms, raging, gives you a good hint of what is, about to approach.
In this sort of like desert area. I think that it's really cool to, one of the most famous blue dragons, at least in our games, was Imrith. And we actually got a chance to fight Imrith and finally take her down after many, many attempts. There are some really powerful dragons that you can be putting into your campaigns that are actually in the lore, and it's just going to build up everything that you're doing and really create exciting and memorable experiences for your characters. We still say, damn Imrith all the time.
And with these effects, they're going to be leveling up their own game to stop the players.
Yes, indeed. Up next, we have green dragons, dragons of deceit and derision. From forbidden forest depths, green dragons whisper evils into the world and manipulate the lives of those who listen. Elusive, conniving, and egotistical, these chromatic dragons patiently prey on the fears of shorter-lived beings, corrupting and isolating them. Green dragons might lurk amid a labyrinth wilderness for centuries without revealing themselves. Even their most devoted followers might not know that they exist within the woodlands from a whisper or a dream.
And where do we find these green dragon lairs? Usually in ancient forests, often shaping strands of massive trees into compounds of interwoven branches, hollowed out trunks, and caverns amid mighty roots. They might also dwell amid forest ruins, particularly in the former homes of those that they have conquered. That's pretty interesting. Okay, let's take a look at the regional effects.
Beast Spies. Tiny beasts magically gain the ability to understand Draconic and can communicate telepathically with the dragon while within 1 mile of the lair.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
So all of these little spies, that could really add up to you being at a disadvantage when going into what you think is a dragon's lair. The dragon's going to be ready for you.
Yeah, so if you're in and around this dragon's lair and this regional effect, make sure you watch out for things that seem innocuous, right? Like a little squirrel or something, because they're going to be like the agents of these green dragons. So pay attention and make sure you're trying to use that speak with animals in this case. So
absolutely.
Important trait to have.
You're also going to have poisonous thickets. Ordinary plants growing within 1 mile of the lair are poisonous, and the air around them is as well. Whenever a creature other than a dragon or its allies finishes a long rest in that area, it must succeed on a DC 15 Constitution saving throw or have the poison condition for 1 hour.
Okay, I think this is pretty easily avoidable and should be pretty obvious here. And actually, this might be a sign of like the green dragon saying, "Don't come into my region, my lair."
Yeah.
And if you see this around these thickets, you definitely do not want to do a long rest. So get out of that 1 mile radius and then take your rest and then go do the dragon attack.
Good call. We actually played against a green dragon in the very first session of D&D that I ever played, and I still remember not his name, but how worthy of an opponent he was.
Yeah, and this was in the D&D intro starter game, the Mines of Phandelver.
Yes.
And it was Venom Fang, I think. So,
it was Venom Fang!
When your players are low level, it's really easy to scare them with dragons. When they're higher levels, not so much, but it's a fun tactic, and adding these regional effects definitely adds to that complexity.
Yeah, the ambiance is just awesome. Up next we have red dragons, dragons of greed and devastation, the devastation of Smaug. Red dragons take whatever they desire and burn to ash anything that stands in their way. These chromatic dragons endlessly desire more magic, more territory, treasure, or whatever else inflames their cruel ambitions.
I love red dragons. And red dragons make their lairs in smoldering, unapproachable places, like volcanic mountains, of course, burning wastelands, and ruins they've stolen from other creatures. That's great. Okay, let's talk about the regional effects.
Burning heat. The area within 1 mile of the lair is an area of extreme heat. Burning creatures or objects take an additional 1d4 fire damage at the start of each of their turns.
Whoa, interesting.
Wow.
So, you know what? This is a double-edged sword for the dragon because it's not like you're just taking 1d4 fire damage per turn, which in like sometimes if you go to the plane of fire, that could be the case. But here, you might want to actually capitalize on doing fire damage when you're regional flag. So if you know that, if you're like, we're going to tackle this red dragon, or I know a red dragon is in this volcano or whatever it's going to be, then come in with your like flame tongues, make sure sure you have like those fire spell prepared, because then you're gonna be doing more extra damage. And it won't work against the dragon necessarily, but if there's other creatures around, it could definitely do an extra bit of damage. That'll be helpful.
For sure. You also have Smoldering Haze. The area within 1 mile of the lair is lightly obscured with clouds of ash. Whenever a creature other than the dragon or one of its allies finishes a long rest in that area, the creature must succeed on a DC 15 Constitution save or have the poison condition for 1 hour. So we're seeing a lot of this poison condition, but I mean, there are different ways that a dragon would poison you. It's not just your traditional green or black dragon that has that ability. It makes perfect sense that the ash would absolutely be a poisonous gas you don't want to inhale.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Volcanic asbestos.
Indeed.
Yeah, and if you think about it, if anybody here has played Monster Hunter, also like Rathalos has like a poisonous tail, so you never know. And this is just, I mean, the effect can be debilitating, of course, especially if your whole party is poisoned. So make sure you don't stay in these layers. But, I mean, at the very least, the setup for like a Smoldering Haze is just really cool for your DM and players to kind of get through.
I also just want to say that hanging in my home above our mantle is the skull of a red dragon. And my wife is really cool for letting us keep that there. Throw in a picture right here, DM.
And then that leaves us finally with the White Dragon, dragons of cold and cruelty. Among the most primal chromatic dragons, white dragons prioritize survival over all. Life is harsh and uncertain in the Arctic expanses, glacial heights and frozen seas where these dragons dwell. White dragons fiercely protect their territories, scouring the frigid regions for food and evidence of trespassers. Most white dragons ignore the plots of smaller creatures and other dragons, concerning themselves only with their own survival.
White dragons brood in bitterly cold lairs clawed from stone and ice. For the regional effects, you have frigid cold. The area within 1 mile of the lair is an area of extreme cold. Any water in that area is going to actually be frigid water.
That's all crazy, because you think about it, if you're already at an Arctic place and there's this plus extra effects,
It's going to be so
very cold. And extreme cold is the case where you need to have some kind of resistance or immunity to cold, or have that cold weather gear. Otherwise, you're going to be having to do DC 10 or higher con saves, as well as the frigid water if you have to go through the water, traverse it. Or you're going to take a lot of exhaustion. It's not going to be good. By the time you get to the dragon, you're going to be spent. So make sure you really adequately prepare for this white dragon, because otherwise it's going to take you down easily.
And you're going to freeze your booty off.
Yeah, and that's not all.
Glacial gloom. The area within 1 mile of the lair is lightly obscured by chilly fog. Whenever a creature other than the dragon or one of its allies finishes a long rest in that area, the creature must succeed on a DC 15 Constitution save or have its speed reduced by 10 feet for 1 hour. Okay, so, this is probably the least dangerous of the effects, but still, only being able to move 20 feet when you're fighting a dragon could be a real pain.
Yeah, it's true. And because it's lightly obscured, as we mentioned, you can take advantage of that as a player, but also the dragon can too. They're flying around or going through the storm they've created, and they're lightly obscured or even more heavily obscured. They're going to get you by surprise, so make sure if you need to run away, you haven't rested under the glacial gloom. So yeah, pretty cool effects. All right, well, this has been our coverage, our first day of Dragon Week with the chromatic dragons and all their crazy cool regional effects. Let us know what you think, which you think you can maybe work around, or maybe what other tactics you would use to get through these regional effects for you and your party and help the community out. So thank you very much for watching.
We'll see you next time.